All right, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about a very important and very interesting item. I actually was very surprised to find the results of the video that I'm going to share with you guys because I originally thought that these were just a massive scam and that you should never even think about using them. But it turns out that they're actually not as bad as I thought. And I wanted to kind of give you guys all the information that you're going to need to know about these. And I want to talk about, of course, this item that is in the bottom right of my inventory, which is this tailoring basic design. Now, I'm just going to use this one as an example for this video. There's actually 4 different books that you can end up using, and they all give you a 10% additional increased chance when it comes to honing. But the important thing about these books is that they actually give you an increased honing chance above the maximum number of star's breath or moon's breath that you can use. And you'll actually notice, and I'll point this out in an example, that once you get to the last levels of your gear, you can only actually end up using a certain amount of star's breath, which might not actually get you to a 100% success rate. So if you want to go above and beyond and give yourself an even increased higher chance of success, you're going to have to use one of these books, which adds 10% on top of the maximum number of star's breaths or moon's breaths that you can use. The thing is, these are very, very expensive, and you can actually take a look. I'll open up the market here, and you'll see that there's 4 different books, and the one that I'm going to use as the example is the cheapest one, just so you guys can kind of see what's going on. But the 4 different books are the Tailoring Basic Design, which is for Tier 1 armors. And you can actually see that if you look below the name of the item, it says Epic Item Tier 1. That means that this is going to be for Tier 1 equipment. And if you actually read the description of the item, it says honing chance plus 10%, effect applied target when attempting to increase, and then it's all the different types of armor. The reason why there's 4 different lists of armor there is this works for your blue tier 1, it works for your purple tier 1, it works for your legendary tier 1, it works for all types of tier 1 equipment between levels 7 through 15. It's going to give you a 10% increased chance. So that's the tier 1 armor book. Then if we move on to the next page, you'll see this one right here, also Epic Item Tier 1. This is for your weapons. You can see when attempting to increase Providence weapon honing level 7 to 15, Seraphic Oath weapons, it's all the different weapons there. So same thing for Tier 1, except this is for the weapons. And then there's 2 more books, and these are for your Tier 2s. So you have your Tailoring Basic Knots, Epic Item Tier 2. This one again is for the armors. And then on the very last page here, you can see this one, Metallurgy Basic Folding, Epic Item Tier 2, and this is for your Tier 2 weapons. So the one that I'm using as an example wasn't really too bad. It was 200 gold, but they start to go up in price very, very quickly. You can see that the Tier 2 Epic Armor one, which is for all types of armor, by the way. The book is Epic quality, but you can use it on all types of armor. It doesn't actually have to be Epic armor. This is almost 3,000 gold, 2,725. And then the Tier 2 weapon book here is almost 4,000 gold, 3,750. And when I saw these prices, I immediately thought to myself, like, this has to be a scam. There's no way that there's ever in a million years it's going to be worth spending almost 3 or almost 4,000 gold in order to just give yourself a 10% success chance. But it turns out it's actually a lot closer than I thought. And I'm going to go through the numbers and the breakdown so that you guys can see that these are not as bad as you might initially think. So let's kind of get into it, and I'm going to go over to, first of all, let me show you guys where to actually get these. They are tradable, so of course you can get them on the market. But if you actually get one as a drop and you don't want to use it and you want to end up selling it, it's tradable, and they do drop from the Abyss dungeons. You can see here, if you go to the expected rewards, in the second page of the Tier 1 dungeons, you can see that this is going to drop the basic casting, metallurgy, and the tailoring basic design. So that's your Tier 1 weapon and your Tier 1 armor books. And then if you go to the Tier 2 dungeons, you can see that these drop the Tier 2, the metallurgy basic folding and the tailoring basic knots. So of course the tailoring books are going to be for your armors and the metallurgies are going to be for your weapons. So makes sense. That's where they drop right there. They are tradable. But now the question, do you want to use them? Do you want to sell them? And if you don't have them and you don't get them as a drop, is it ever going to be possibly worth considering spending that crazy amount of gold to end up buying one? And again, I originally thought there's no way in a million years is it going to be worth spending that gold, but it's a lot closer than you might actually think. So let me head over to the honing NPC just so you guys can see how this works. Because very importantly, this item synergizes with your star's breath or your moon's breath. There's a limit to the amount of star's breath and moon's breath that you can actually use, and I have an item that I'm going to use as an example here. I would normally never level up my gear like this, so don't do this, of course. I'm just doing this for an example for the video so you guys can get a better idea of how using your star's breath or moon's breath and this book are going to kind of work. So if I have my like level 14 helmet here, my level 14 hat that's ready to be upgraded to 15, obviously you get the most value from these resources on that very last level, because the book is going to give you a 10% increased success chance. So the last level uses the most resources, and that's where that 10% is going to get the most value from. So now if we have our page open here, you can see that this is an alt character. So my initial honing success rate is 60%. It normally would be 40%. Just keep that in mind, because once you actually get your main character to tier 2, you can go to your stronghold and you can unlock some stuff in your stronghold that's going to give you a permanent 20% increased success chance, as well as a permanent reduction in the amount of harmony shards it takes. So make sure that you do that so that your alts are actually easier to work on their gear than your main character. And that's why this is 60% instead of 40%. But either way, you could see that at a 60%, I can only actually end up using 20 of these Star's Breath to get to 80%. I can't use these fully. I've got 35 Star's Breath right now in my inventory, and it only actually lets me use 20 of them. So if I only use Star's Breath and I didn't end up using one of these books, I couldn't end up getting past an 80% success chance. So what you'll notice, though, is that if you end up clicking on this book, though, it will indeed allow you to go 10% past what you would normally be able to, even with the maximum number of Star's Breath. So it's not like you can just use Star's Breath to get to 100%. This book kind of works on top of your Star's Breath, so it synergizes with it together. Now, this is just an example here for tier 1. I want to break down the numbers for tier 2 because that's where this really comes in handy. This is when the resources are super ridiculously expensive. You know, the tier 1 book, this one was just 200 gold, but those tier 2 books are like almost 3,000 and 4,000 gold. And originally I thought they were a massive scam, but after kind of breaking this down a little bit more, it's not nearly as bad as you might think. So let me just do a breakdown here. And I know that there's a lot of info on the screen. I'm going to just break it down here so that it's a little bit easier to understand. But remember that this character here, I already actually leveled up my main, so I'm starting at a 60% success chance instead of a 40%. Normally at tier 2, if you're working on like 14 to 15 armor, you're going to have a 40% success rate. So using your 20 Star's Breath, or I guess your 20 Moon's Breath, is going to take you to 60%. And then if you use a 10% book, it's going to take you to 70%. So that makes it so that the chance that you succeed, it's going to go from an average of 1.66 attempts to 1.429 attempts. So basically, TLDR is that using the book versus not using the book is going to save you about a quarter of an attempt. That's, you know, a decent chunk there given how many resources it's going to take for you to actually hone your gear. And if you actually do a cost breakdown of all the materials that it takes in order to upgrade an armor from tier 14 to from plus 14 to plus 15, it takes 900 armor stones. And you can kind of look up. Now, this is important. This is if you value all of your resources at what they actually end up costing on the market. So if you take a look at the cost of resources right now, you could see that the Guardian stones are like 20 gold for a set of 10. The Harmony, or I guess the Life Leap stones, are almost 200 gold each, which is insanely expensive. So going back to this list here, you can see that the 900 armor stones, if you were to value them at what they cost off the market, is 1,800 gold. 27 leap stones at 200 gold each for just one single upgrade attempt is 5,400 gold in leap stones. The Caldor materials are incredibly cheap, so don't buy those off the Mari store. 50 gold for 7 of those. 2,000 life shards is about 400 gold right now. The life shard bags are around 100 gold each. They've actually gone down quite a bit. And then your 20 Moon's Breaths are currently about 75 to 80 gold on the market right now each. So if you add that all up together, you're looking at a total cost just for one singular chance to upgrade your gear at 60%. This includes the 20 Moon's Breath at about 9,150 gold. That is insanely expensive. And now if you end up using that book, which again, it's going to depend on your market, it's going to depend on your server prices. If you use that book, it saves you about a quarter of an attempt. So if each attempt is going to cost you at 60%, you know, 9,150 gold, using that book actually saves you over 2,000 gold. So originally, when I saw the book at almost 3,000 gold on the market, I thought it was a major scam. I thought there's no way in a million years that it would ever save you anywhere even close to that. I thought it might not even save you 500 gold, or maybe not even 1,000 gold. But it turns out that it's actually not nearly as bad as you might think. It actually saves you, if you value your materials, and this is a key point, if you value your materials at what they actually cost off of the market, it actually saves you over 2,000 gold. So when is it worth using this book? It's worth using this book if you value your materials at what they cost off the market. And it's also worth using this book if you're somebody who is just like really, really sensitive to RNG. If you just hate the concept of failure and you want to go the extra mile and you want to make sure that you do everything that you possibly can to give yourself as low of a chance to fail as possible, I'd say it's actually not as bad as you might think. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't mind failure, if that's just something that doesn't, phase you as much, like me, I'm used to it. If you guys have followed me from other games, I'm very well used to it. It's not going to bother me as much. Or if you're somebody who you just don't value your materials off of what they are going for on the market, if you just think that the market prices are a complete scam and that they're not worth that much, then obviously it's going to be worth not using this book. And if you end up picking one up from the Abyss dungeons, it's probably better that you just sell it and take the gold and use that gold for something else. So I don't think it's a terrible option either way, though. And at least at the very minimum, you guys have the information now so that you can hopefully make a more informed decision one way or the other. So that's going to be about it. I threw an insane amount of info at this video, so it was a more fun one to make, and I learned a lot myself while making this video as well. So I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I hope that it helped out. And if you did enjoy it and it did help out, consider leaving a quick like, consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this in the future, and consider checking out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/salt, where I'll be streaming Lost Ark as well as other games in the future. So take care, everyone. Have a good one, and until next time.